Welcome back everyone in the Cobra Trading channel. Not too long ago, we put out a tweet asking all of you to share your desk setup. And we're looking for the best trading setup out there on the market. And I know a lot of you are doing the same thing, especially if you're just starting. You're like, where do I start? Do I need a little laptop? Do I need a big desktop? Do I need a monster? Or can I just spend a couple $100s? But don't worry, we got you covered in two ways. Number one, we're gonna be giving away a computer that's specifically designed for traders. And it's not just your everyday computer, it's a top of the line monster. It's an F37 GT computer built by Falcon Trading Systems. And number two, we have our special guest, Josh, the owner of Falcon Trading Systems, who's gonna be answering tons of questions about where you should get started when it comes to building your first trading monster, whether you have a small budget or you've been trading for a while and you have the big budget. Don't worry, I go through all these questions with Josh myself so that way you can get the right information and make the right decision to build the best PC. Let's go. Josh, welcome to the show, man.
Glad to be here, Alex.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad to talk to you. Selfishly, I want to know some questions. So to get us started, though, can you give us some background on yourself? Like, how did you get involved in trading to begin with, or being part of this process of creating trading computers?
Well, to give you a little background, basically, I started working at Falcon around 18 years ago. My primary focus was actually on computers at the time. Scott Toffel was the original founder of the company, and he was heavy into trading. So primary focus when I first started was, building the best possible computers that we possibly could build for Falcon and for traders, around the world. And then as I got involved with developing these trading computers, it's like, well, maybe I should be trading a little bit along with it. There's a lot of these, I hear about successful traders every day using our product and making lots of money and doing well. And I was like, well, I'm pretty busy during the day. So I kind of I do more long-term investing as well as like options. So I'll sell puts on stocks I like. I'll do some short scalps here and there once in a while if I have time during the day. But for the most part, I'm just making sure our computers run 100% for our traders. And then also, we still have resident traders in the building that use our computers and test them and make sure that they're running 100%. Everything that we send out is great for all of our clients and customers. So
that's really interesting. As you said, you have resident traders who test out your equipment to make sure everything's great, because that's something that I didn't know even people did. So can you explain that process and why you feel like that's important?
Yeah, for sure. So the setup that I'm actually is the backdrop of this video is actually one of our residence traders setups, basically. So he has we call this the Big Six. It's 6 4K screens. It allows him to monitor the markets. What's important about having a trader actually use the equipment is that synthetic benchmarks only go so far when you're actually testing hardware on computer systems for day trading. Like you'll see like AMD processors right now, on certain benchmarks crush Intel processors when it comes to benchmarks. But when you actually go to use the trading software, we find that in the real world, Intel processors still reign supreme when it comes to processing trading information. Also, like video cards matter. We need to find out which video cards work best while you're trading. So certain platforms will work better with a high-end graphics card. Others, they don't need a high-end graphics card. They just need a nice 2D accelerator. It's no big deal. It'll run great. We can save some money basically, so we don't have to put in that high-end card that has potentially other issues that could occur during its life because it's running a lot hotter over time as well. So
we see the system set up behind you, and I know people are going to see that and be like, well, geez, I'm just, maybe I'm just getting into trading right now and I'm trading from my phone. And now you expect me to buy this huge system. So kind of give us an idea of, the basics of someone who's getting into trading. what's the necessity? Like, can they just use their laptop? And why would they take it another step further? And how should they be thinking about growing their setup too?
Great question. I mean, of course, you can use your phone to trade. There's lots of people that do that. It's just that we find a lot of our, successful traders and stuff like that, they tend to use about 3 screens, so they want to, when you're looking at a certain stock, you don't want to have, just be looking dialed into that stock, right? You need to be paying attention to like indexes, the news, that's going on. So we find a lot of traders, they'll have like on screen 1, they'll have like the indexes so they can keep track of the NASDAQ, the Dow, and the S&P 500. And then for like the center screen, they'll have the stocks that they're interested in trading,
Mhm.
something like Tesla or Microsoft or something along those lines. And then on the far screen, they have like their market research. So something like Seeking Alpha. There's a lot of different market research tools out there. I'm sure I can't name them all, so we'll just stick with that one for now. But
Yeah.
they may use that, and then they can make a more decisive decision on their trades. Because if you're just staring at your stock, you have a very limited view on what's actually going on with the market.
Hmm.
So, and as you build and have more screens, you can view more of the market at a time. So some people, I do get clients that call, or people that call me once in a while, and they're like, well, Josh, I've been doing okay with one screen. It's like, well, that's great. But, that's like staring at a windshield in your car and saying, I'm going to forget the mirrors and windows,
Yeah.
because you need to get the whole market perspective while you're trading in a lot of cases.
That's a good point. And I had 3 screens myself. So
Yeah.
and at first I started with 1, and then
Yeah.
I went to 2, and I was like, what was I doing with 1? And then I went to 3, and I was like, what was I doing with 2? So I definitely hear you. And it's important to have those different perspectives, like one screen
Mhm.
dedicated to one thing, because it
Yeah.
really helps you stay focused, right? And
Yeah,
you're not trying to
exactly.
switch tabs all day. Because I used to just switch tabs. Like I used
Mhm.
or tab or alt delete or alt tab constantly.
Yeah.
And yeah, that becomes a pain, and you might miss a lot of opportunities that way. But I'm curious, man, if you're a new trader, right?
Yeah.
And they have been trading, let's just say from their phone, because a lot of new traders, when they discover trading, they just think, it's the mobile device. A lot of them come from that
Mhm.
realm, right? But now they want to get into the next step. They want to either get a laptop or they want to get a desktop. Is there a
Yeah.
certain route you recommend, like laptop versus desktop? And then if both are okay, like what is a price range for like the new person with a low budget that can make it happen? Right. And then we'll start to expand to like what can bigger budget get you, like the one behind you.
Yeah, totally. Well, as far as laptop, desktop goes, it really depends on the lifestyle of the trader, right? So some people are on the go, they're hopping beach to beach because they're very successful at trading, right? And other people, they don't really want to travel. They're still successful, but they have a dedicated trading station. When they go in, they're sitting in front of that, and their purpose there is to trade, right? They're not
Right.
going to be doing anything else on there, just trading. So both camps, you can do either way. It doesn't really matter. There's no right or wrong way to do it there. Desktops do have to tend to have more power than laptops. It's just because when you have a box that large, you don't have to make compromises like you do with the laptop.
Mm,
Laptops, they're having to shrink everything down. So Intel and AMD are very clever. They go ahead and name like processors very similar for the laptops and the desktops. So they'll say like it's the 12900H or the 12900K.
yeah.
If you actually run them on performance benchmarks, they're not even close. If you run them in like real world trading setups, they're still quite different when it comes to their performance. So
Mm,
like a laptop, typically we find that 3 screens on your typical mobile processor laptop is kind of pushing it
okay.
to where you can do that. But if you go much further than that, you might run into some limitations with certain platforms,
When you
right?
say typical, give me an idea of like a typical price range of that kind of a laptop, just and maybe you can give a little idea of the specs, if you will, like in the range, just because I know someone's watching this and like, well, what does that mean, typical?
Well, typical laptop, I'm talking more like something that we offer like an F10 or an F12. So specs on that usually are an Intel 12900H or 12900 or 12700H, I'm sorry, processor. And that's like one of the highest mobile processors you can get in a laptop. Now, if you go to a big box store, you have to be careful because there's a lot of different SKUs of processors. So you got i3s, you got i5s, you've got i7s. So something off the shelf, they're trying to, maximize that profit as much as possible. And they may not be as focused on getting you a high performance machine. So, something like in the $700 range probably is not going to run, 3 monitors that well, with most trading applications, but something up in the 15, 18, 19, 2000 range might run it a lot better. And that's kind of where we shoot for with our laptops, is somewhere in that range there.
Cool. And I like that you said that it's going to be a little bit more expensive for a laptop, right? Because everything's condensed. But if you have a dedicated desktop, that's going to be less, right? And get the same performance of that $2,000 laptop, right?
Typically, yeah. So like our desktops, we start out with like a P32 is our low end of the range. By no means is it slow or a slouch or anything like that. It's really a high performance PC. But you start out with that, and it starts at about $1,300 for just that tower. And that will run a lot of stuff really well. Once you get past like 6 monitors, you kind of need to start looking up in the range a little bit, like to our F37, F52. And it depends on what you're doing too. It's always good to talk to somebody, at Falcon and tell them, okay, this is what I'm doing. Is that going to work? Because there's a lot of specifics. Someone who's running 3 monitors, they might be using it to do a lot of back testing, right? And if they're using it to do a lot of back testing, the P32, yeah, it'll do it, but you're going to get a lot better performance and be able to complete a lot more back tests on something like the F52 or the F1 in the same given time.
It's interesting that you said this a couple of times. I'm glad you said it a couple of times, because it took me a while to catch on. And you said, if you talk to someone over here, so you guys kind of consult with a new person who's interested in buying a PC. Maybe it's me, right? Maybe it's me, and I'm like, I stream, I game, and I PC, and I trade. Yeah. Like, so that would be a specific model for me. Whereas someone who just trades and that's all they do nothing else, then it'll be something different. So I think it's important that, to understand that you guys do help with that, right?
Yeah, totally. So you can present like your use case, like what you do on the PC to us, and then we can custom tailor our PCs to fit your needs specifically so that you're getting a machine that's going to accomplish all of your goals. So, yeah.
So if I'm someone who's listening to this and maybe they're just, shopping around, I just want to know in general, are there 2 like components that are the most important for a trader to be thinking about when shopping for a device?
Yeah, there of course are a couple components that are essential when it comes to trading PCs. So the primary component is the processor. So you need to get a processor that is as powerful as you can basically get. And it typically, of course, when someone thinks about that, they think, oh, maybe a Xeon processor would be the best because that's the best that Intel offers. But we don't find that to be true. Most Xeon processors, they tend to be, they have less performance per core, but they have a lot more cores. Trading applications themselves tend to be single threaded. So, but what that means is that you can imagine processors cores are like lanes on a highway, right?
Okay.
So a lot of like video production software will, utilize all those lanes, whereas a trading application most of the time will only use like 1 to 2 lanes on the highway. So the only way to really get your information processed quickly and efficiently is to make sure that you have a processor that can speed up the speed limit on those lanes. so that you can get that information through quicker. So that's why we usually use like Intel processors with their like turbo technology and like the i9 or i7, because they have high clock speeds to push that information down that highway as quickly as possible. Because a lot of trading applications do not utilize all the lanes that are available from the processor itself.
That's good to know, man. I didn't even know that. And that's interesting how you described it as like increasing the speed of that lane. So what was the other, you said there's a couple components. What's another component?
So obviously video cards are your second component, because a lot of traders are running more than like 3 or more monitors. So picking graphics cards that tend to be able to support those and also support the monitors and the platform, because certain platforms, like just to throw one out there, like Thinkorswim, requires a bit more GPU processing power, and GPU stands for graphics processing unit. So it will require a little bit more than, say, TradeStation, which is another platform that we deal with all the time. So we have to tailor the solution a little bit to fit the platform's needs.
Is me hearing you say that, does that mean I just need to think about the higher the gigabytes on that GPU, the better for, because that's, I'm a gamer, so that's what I think, so I'm just curious how that applies to software and trading software.
So gigabytes on a video card, you can think of that more as screen space, right? As your screens increase, like if you go from an HD screen to a 4K screen, it needs to keep track of each pixel a little bit better. So it tends to consume more of your video memory. The more important part for trading applications, of course, you need to scale for the number of monitors you have, right? But the more important part is the GPU processor itself, like how fast is it? To a certain point, it doesn't help you. Like RTX cards rarely help with trading platforms from our experience, like the high-end NVIDIA graphics cards that are offered. We find that like the Quadro cards, which is what we tend to use, like the T series or the P series, they tend to work really good for rendering charts and making sure that those applications are running at peak performance. So.
Well, let me ask you this, Josh, because I feel like, just in case, is there anything that maybe I may have missed out on that I should have been asking you that someone needs to know about? Is there anything you want to add?
System memory is, of course, important too. Typically, we find most of our traders need around 16 gigs of memory, but if they're using certain platforms, there are platforms that require more memory because they might have a memory leak. Basically, it doesn't release the memory back to the operating system over time. So some applications will recommend like 32 or 64 gigs of memory because it may not make it through a full trading day. Or if someone is running basically a trading bot on the computer, it may not last that week without running out of memory and then shutting down the trading algorithm. So
Jesus. So yeah. Is it, and if anyone wants to reach out, man, because I know there's gonna be a lot of people who are gonna be like, you know what, I want to ask this question. Is it free to just reach out and just ask questions, or just is it a chat, or how does it work?
So you just go to our website, tradingcomputers.com. And then up along the top is our phone number. It's 1-800-557-7142. One for sales. All of our sales guys are excellent. That you can chat with them about a new system, or if you just have some general questions too about, what you should get or some recommendations that we have, feel free to reach out to us. So
thank you so much, Josh. Hey, man, I know it's going to help a lot of people out there, because this is something that everyone is constantly trying to figure out. What do I need to do to get started? And especially, what system do I need? So again, thanks so much for being here, brother.
Well, thank you, Alex. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Josh, for spending the time with us today and sharing your expertise on how to build the best trading computer. Now, for everyone who wants to get a chance to win the F37 GT trading monster, all you have to do is comment below why you feel like you should win, or go to the original tweet that we did about this video and retweet it. Good luck.